Today I wanted to talk about the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC. I also wanted to quickly give a little brief history of Xenoblade for me, how I got into the series and kind of my overall thoughts about it, and then I want to jump into the DLC and talk about that, and then I want to talk about announcements that have happened within the Xenoblade series as of recent. So how I heard about Xenoblade Chronicles was back in like 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. It was before Cole moved in with us and joined the RadKatz, so I believe it was 2018 or 2019. But he told me about a Let's Player that I should watch, because at the time we were doing Let's Plays, and this was one of his favorite Let's Players, and his name was Chugga Conroy. And Cole said, hey, you should check out the Xenoblade Chronicles Let's Play that he had. Now, I didn't know anything about Xenoblade Chronicles at the time, other than I was aware that Shulk was in Smash. I remember when Shulk was announced in Smash way back when. I thought he was a cool character, didn't really know what he was from. Thane later told me he was from the Xenoblade Chronicles series, which was on the Wii. And that was it. Thane didn't have it on the Wii. I never saw anyone play it, never seen any gameplay prior to Cole telling me to watch this Let's Play, because I just wasn't really interested and nobody was talking about it. So yeah, that was kind of when I first got into Xenoblade. Was I was watching Chugga Conroy's Let's Plays of it, and then Cole later made a video on Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Watched that. It looked really fun. At this point, Cole was getting really into the series. He was playing the second one at the time too. Really getting into that because I think the third one was announced or was on the way. So Cole was getting back into Xenoblade Chronicles, and he was begging me to play Xenoblade Chronicles to get into the series. It was a long time coming. I think it was a few years after Cole had resparked his love for Xenoblade that he got me to start playing it. And I eventually did, partially out of spite, because I don't know, when somebody asks you, like begs and begs and begs and begs you to do something, kind of makes you want to do the opposite. But eventually I caved, played it, and I regret ever waiting, because this game series is incredible and may arguably be the best objectively made video games ever, as far as everything: gameplay, story, mechanics, exploration, progression, the collection aspect of it. They are incredible. Xenoblade 1 was amazing. It wasn't soon after I beat Xenoblade 1 that I played Xenoblade 2, and I liked that one even more. Then last year, I played through Xenoblade 3, finally, and I loved that one too. Like, all three games are just a masterclass in video game development. I love them. I don't know if they're my favorite video game series of all time. I'm still debating that in my head, but I'm starting to lean towards, yes, I think they are probably my favorite. And this is a series that I think everybody should play before they die. Okay, so now you're up to speed with where I am with Xenoblade Chronicles. I love the series to death. It is amazing. These are games I will be replaying eventually in the future. But now onto the Xenoblade 3 DLC. Now, I'm going to be spoiling this because there's a lot I want to talk about with this video game. So if you don't want to be spoiled on the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC, then you probably should just click off now. And if you don't care, we'll get into it. So, the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC, this is Future Redeemed. It was released in April of 2023, developed by Monolith Soft and published by Nintendo. Xenoblade Chronicles is created by Tetsuya Takahashi. It has sold 1.86 million copies. This Xenoblade DLC, Xenoblade 3 DLC, I think is a masterclass in rewarding the player and giving incentives to do things, like with exploring, collecting, fighting monsters. Everything you do goes back to leveling up your characters. The collection aspect is so much fun. You go around, you're collecting items. You collect items to do side quests as well. Fighting monsters levels you up. There's so many different things to collect and level up and add to your character. Gems make a return. Then you've also got accessories that you can wear, which were in previous games as well. There's just so much here with the characters and the character building. And there's lots of different characters for you to play as too. You've got your main party of 6, but this one is this one's a little bit different. It's a prequel to Xenoblade 3. which is really cool because Xenoblade 1 and 2 take place alongside each other, and then Xenoblade 3 is it's both of those smashed together, and then the DLC takes place prior to Xenoblade 3. I'm not sure the amount of time, if I'm being quite honest. Regardless, the DLC is a love letter to all the Xenoblade fans that have stuck with it up to this point, that have come along for the ride, and you get a lot here. You get returning characters. Shulk comes back. He's got long hair. He's missing an arm. You also get Rex, who is back as well, wearing an eye patch, and he is a Beyblade. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. The thing about this too, though, is that you get Shulk and Rex, and then you also get their kids that you get to play as well, along with 2 other characters, which is really cool. It's as a Xenoblade fan, it's fun to see these characters that we love come back, but also not just come back for no reason. These 2 characters come back and serve a humongous purpose within the base story of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and it is so freaking good. The story of Xenoblade is amazing. The fact that Takahashi has been able to connect all the games 1, 2, and 3 together, plus he's got other things like Xenogears, that there's been a lot of speculation with that and how it's going to tie into this series. I know nothing about Xenogears, but there's an announcement within the Xenoblade series that I want to talk about later, because I don't know how much it's connected to this. So I digress. The exploration and the collecting in Xenoblade DLC was so good. It's so much fun exploring and uncovering the map, going to different nooks and crannies, trying to collect and find specific items that you need, whether you're trying to do the Collectopedia or side quests, or you're trying to collect things so that you can upgrade weapons and whatnot. And then you find all sorts of monsters. Throughout the Xenoblade series, they kind of have reoccurring monsters, but they also add new ones too. So it's a little bit of familiarity, and it's also shaking it up by adding new things too. But the combat is where this game shines too, though. The combat is super fun in Xenoblade Chronicles, and it always has been since, I think, the first game in the series. But the fun part about the combat throughout the series is it changes. Sometimes it can change drastically, and sometimes not so much. The thing that's kind of stuck throughout is the arts that all the characters get. All the characters get different arts. The combat is so much fun. It adds some strategy to it, and going back to chaining combos, you can break characters and then you can smash them in the air and do massive combos. You can also do chain attacks, which deliver huge blows to enemies. So the combat of Xenoblade is really freaking good. The art style is really good too. I love the art style of the Xenoblade Chronicles series. So freaking cool, and it blows my mind that these games run on the Switch. So it just goes to show you how amazing Monolith is at developing video games, let alone games that are specifically to the Switch, only for the Switch, and run as well as they do, plus they are humongous. I think I'm kind of convinced that Monolith Soft may be the greatest video game developers ever. And also, mind you, not a lot of people know this. I don't know why, but Monolith also helped develop Breath of the Wild, and I think they focus specifically on the map. They might have had other involvements as well, but specifically the map and exploration of Breath of the Wild, they had a huge part in. So yeah, the Xenoblade series is a series that I think everybody should play at least once in their life. Like, if there's a hill I'm going to die on, it's going to be that everybody should play Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, and 3, and the DLCs respectively. It's so good. These are I'm gonna say it, these are the greatest video games ever made. They've got incredible story. The combat is amazing. The gameplay is addictive. The art style and exploration is awesome. The characters are great. There are points throughout the story where you're probably going to be in tears, especially if you started with number 1 and gone all the way up to where we currently are now in the series. I love it to death. I love it so much. And once again, I think that Xenoblade Chronicles 3, the DLC Future Redeemed, is a masterclass in rewarding the player and progression specifically. It's so good. Everything that you do adds to your character, so it makes you want to play and engage and interact with more of the game. one of my complaints I've had in video games is sometimes there's just a lot of things to do that don't really serve a purpose other than it's just there for you to do. And I like to see numbers go up. I like to see rewards for my actions. So I don't want to go off and just to collect things for collection's sake. I want to be able to go off and collect things, but those things I collect, I want to be able to use them, whether it's adding to my character or it's a weapon that I get to use. I like that a lot better than just collecting things for a key that opens a door. Like, it's fine in specific instances, but in open world games, or rather open world areas, like what Xenoblade Chronicles is, and the DLC specifically, I like that when I go off and do things, it actually benefits me other than just checking off things on a list. That's fine and it has its place. But when I'm playing an action RPG like this, I want all of my actions to benefit me in some way, shape, or form. And in Xenoblade 3 DLC, it does just that. I'll probably eventually make a video on our main channel talking about the masterclass of rewarding your players with actions that they do. And once again, Xenoblade 3 nails it. The music in Xenoblade Chronicles is incredible too. The battle themes are amazing. The song that we've been using in our outros since like 2016 or 17, I think, is kind of when we really started going hard on YouTube, is from Xenoblade, the first game specifically. It is You Will Know Our Names. We've been using that song forever. I love that song. It's freaking awesome. We were using that song even before I knew much about Xenoblade because I had listened to the soundtrack first, fell in love with that song, fell in love with the series later. I love the music. I love everything about Xenoblade Chronicles. And I honestly can't even think of anything negative about the Xenoblade 3 DLC. It's kind of bite-sized compared to the rest of the game. I think I beat it in about 21 hours. So once again, bite-sized compared to the actual game, which I think I put upwards of 80 or 90 hours in the base game. So it's bite-sized compared to that. But once again, I love this series. I think that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 may be my favorite, but I'm not sure yet. I think I need eventually to go do a replay of everything, because Xenoblade 2 I really, really loved. I loved the combat, loved the story, the characters. I loved a lot about it. It does have its flaws, which I do want to go back and try to interact with, which I didn't the first playthrough I did. But I think overall, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC Future Redeemed may be my favorite bit of Xenoblade Chronicles. I loved it. It was perfect. I was addicted to it. It was everything that I want in a video game, and I got it. The other thing I wanted to talk about too quickly, and just briefly mention it here, is Xenoblade Chronicles X has been announced for the Nintendo Switch, slated for, I think, March of 2025. So that is coming out. We are getting more Xenoblade content, and I'm super stoked for that. That is a game that was stuck on the Wii U. I did not own a Wii U, but Thane does. I was going to borrow his Wii U to play this game eventually. But with the announcement of it on the Switch, super stoked, because now I get to play it on my Switch. I get to play a better version of it, and I just get more Xenoblade. So I'm super stoked for that as well. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are down below about whether it's just the DLC specifically or about Xenoblade Chronicles as a whole. I think that this series is very underrated. I know it sells millions of copies, but I firmly believe that the Xenoblade Chronicles series deserves to be up there with the Breath of the Wilds, with the Halos, with insert best video game here, like Final Fantasy. Xenoblade Chronicles deserves to be up there with all of the greats, and I hope one day this series gets the love it deserves, because it is incredible. Impeccable, if I might say. This video game is perfect. I love the series. I love Xenoblade Chronicles. I can't praise it enough. In the future, I am going to be making videos about this series, because I want this series to get as much exposure as humanly possible. I want to get Xenoblade games for the rest of my human existence, because I love this series so much. So if you have not, you need to play Xenoblade Chronicles. This is the series that you need to play before you die. Like, IGN or whoever, insert game journal thing here. Top 10 games you need to play before you die. Number 1, 2, and 3. Actually, just all in number 1 is the Xenoblade Chronicles series. Play these games. I promise you won't regret it. They're really fun. If you're struggling at any point, feel free to look up guides and walkthroughs, because sometimes jumping into complex RPGs like that is a little daunting in the beginning. There's a lot going on, a lot to look at. But once you break it down and understand the gameplay and how everything works, oh man, this game franchise, this series is so good. I promise you will not regret it. But yeah, that's it. That's all I've got. Thank you guys for watching. Next time we're going to be talking about BioShock 2, so you can look forward to that. Let me know your thoughts down below on the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC, Future Redeemed. Let me know your thoughts about the series as a whole. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and as always, keep it rad.